I'm happy to inform you that we have had a very useful discussion today on the current state of the emission trade system of the EU and how we can safeguard the integrity of the system. And I'm very pleased to report that there was strong and uniform support from both ministers and industry for the ETS as the cornerstone of the EU climate policy. And after the discussion today, ministers are aware of the challenges to the ETS. But this clearly is a complicated matter, and it's fair to say that views differ on how best to get about securing a strong ETS system for the future. I believe that our discussion today has equipped us all, including the Commission, better to work to safeguard the integrity of the ETS. And we agree that we need to ensure that the ETS deliver on reducing CO2 emissions in Europe and establishing incentives, clear incentives for investments in low-carbon technologies. And you may then add, Connie?
Yes, thank you very much, Martin. And first, it's extremely positive that the Danish presidency has brought this to the Council for the first time. As you will know, the Commission since 2010, when we had our communication on stepping up to 30%, and again in the low carbon roadmap for 2050, and also in our proposal for the Energy Efficiency Directive, we have underlined that there is a problem with too many allowances in the system for a number of reasons. And also the European Parliament has earlier this year actually been very clear that they think that this must be addressed. So it's really very, very timely that the Danish presidency chose this topic. And I agree totally with the Minister. It was an extremely constructive debate, total unanimity when it comes to this, the ETS as the cornerstone of European climate policies. Also a very, very strong dedication now to discuss not only targets for 2020, but also start to look much more into 2030. It's also a very, very good result of this discussion. And then one thing is the long-term things you can do. You can actually also do some things in the short term. And there I announced that the review, the annual report of how the ETS is functioning, that the Commission is obliged to put forward next year, that we will already now start so that in a couple of months you will have this first annual report. And when we do this first annual report, that is also a golden opportunity then to look into the auctioning profile. It is so that in the 2013 to 2020 auctioning period, there is today a tendency that you will have much more allowances going to the market in the early phase than in the later phase. We think it's time to look into whether that makes sense. So I have asked my services now, make this report now, let us then have a proposal that can go to the Climate Change Committee so that before the end of this year we can have a decision on this part, while we, on the basis of this very good discussion we have had today, continue to have the political discussions on the long-term issues that we must also address.
I've got a question. How was your reaction on the Polish proposal? How were the discussions with the Polish? And is the Commission now in favor of a set-aside? Thank you.
The Commission has earlier very clearly said what we think must be said about the set-aside. We think that there is something to look into also in light of what comes out of the Energy Efficiency Directive. And on the Polish paper, there was a paper from the presidency, there was a Polish papers, so we were not discussing specific papers. I gave a presentation, we had these papers, so that was all the background music for the discussion we had today.
Bloomberg News. Commissioner, I've got a question about the auctioning regulation and the proposal in comitology that you mentioned. Does it mean that you would like to review the auctioning regulation before the end of this year?
Yes.
Thank you. So we can say
Okay. Just a small practical notice. As you might know, we had 4 very sharp and very clear interventions from senior business leaders in the beginning of the meeting, which actually set the scene, I would say, and was very interesting because they were so clear in their signals. These are now available at our homepage, and you can see them by yourself, where the industry of Europe is in this matter.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Take care.